My name is Steve Kamwamu. I'm the founder of Kamsa Poultry. Did you know that birds produce more than 300 sounds to communicate? For instance, when they are scared, they produce a different sound from when they are being fed. At Kamsa Poultry, we produce eggs, and this is my story. I used to work for a milling company producing maize flour and wheat flour. Then I started it as a side hustle. A year later, I realized that the business needed more of my attention for it to move to the next level. So I resigned in 2015 to fully concentrate on the farm. While I was starting, I was a naive farmer, just like most farmers. So I went around buying young chicks from neighbors. I bought about 20, which most of them in 4 months had died. I remained with only 3. So through the journey of raising these 20, that's when I came to know about commercial hatcheries that incubate and hatch eggs. Different breeds of chicken, different value chains of birds. So from there, I moved and bought 100-day-old chicks, kienyeji improved, which did pretty well. I ended up with about 35 hens, which I put in a cage, and they produced eggs. From the production of eggs, that's where my interest began growing. That's where I knew that it is something that I could scale up. In 2018, when I looked back through my records, I realized that eggs was consistent. The sale of eggs was consistent. It was predictable, and it had very few variables. Selling of chicken had so many variables, especially the kienyeji chicken that I was selling. You find that during festivities, along holidays, that's December, Christmas, cultural ceremonies around August, sales used to go up. But around January, February, sales were quite low. So that variability was not good for a young business. So I shifted my model and tried to concentrate on egg production. So in 2018, I moved from kienyeji birds to hybrid layers and scaled that up to about 1,500 birds. From there, I have been scaling more and more for the production of eggs until currently in 2020, I put up a unit for 5,000 laying birds. We produce about 145 trays of eggs daily. When I was starting off, I started off by doing the deep litter system. Deep litter system, basically you have a unit, you put wood shavings on the floor, and the birds are free to roam within that unit. It was a bit tedious. It involved a lot of manpower, and it had a lot of wastages. There was spillages of drinking water, there was spillages of feeds, and even when the birds are laying, some eggs got lost inside the wood shavings. Some eggs are damaged by the birds, either through pecking or stepping on them. And a lot of the eggs were dirty because of the bird droppings. Those were the main challenges. And through my journey, as I kept learning more, I came to realize that there are better technologies that are more efficient. That's when I was introduced to the cages. So you find that the cages, the birds are confined, and there is very little scratching of the feeds, so little of the feed gets wasted. There is a lot of efficiency in terms of collecting eggs. You can easily identify birds that are not laying. The eggs are clean, and water is clean. There is no human interaction with the water, so the water is clean and the wastages are very minimal. No water is spilled off. So you find that the efficiency is very, very high. The cage system confines the birds. there is very little movement. So it's true there is a concern about the animal welfare. In the poultry business, the biggest challenge is usually management of diseases. Disease outbreaks, some come even when you do everything right, but it still affects you. So it's something that you have to prepare for and acknowledge that it might happen. Although you still have to put biosecurity measures in place. So you have to make sure you have a foot bath, you have to restrict movement of people into the chicken house, you have to ensure levels of hygiene are high, the house is well cleaned, the food is of high quality, and you do your vaccinations as per the schedule. Because some diseases are very fatal. They have 85% and above mortality, meaning that when you have an outbreak on your farm, 85% of the birds are most likely going to die. Most of those diseases are viral diseases, so the only way is to vaccinate prior to an outbreak. The other challenge we experience is availability of inputs. By inputs, I mean the feeds, the drugs and vaccines, the day-old chicks. You find that we have fewer suppliers of all these inputs. Like feeds, quality feed suppliers, I don't think they even get to 5 in the whole country. Same to producers and distributors of the drugs. Same to producers of day-old chicks. I pity a lot of farmers who fall victim to inferior quality day-old chicks, because however much they are trained on how to rear the chicken, it's not their fault that the birds are dying. It's just that the birds they were given are of inferior quality. Especially if a bird is maybe the 4th generation. You can't compare it with a bird of the 1st generation that has the immunity boosted and their resilience is high. So by just that, you find that a farmer gets so many losses by just virtue of being provided poor quality day-old chicks. Same to poor medicine, same to poor feeds. When we look at feeds, those who do math realize that there is a bit of confusion when I read articles and they say that feeds constitute 70% of the production cost. Technically, that's inaccurate, that's a lie. Feeds contribute about 90 to 95% of the production cost. Yeah? Because production cost is basically made of feeds, medicine, and a little bit of labor. And feeds will contribute 90% of those three. It's only that the production cost is 70% of whatever income you make. Having said that, the pricing of feeds, it's expensive for the farmer. But from my experience, the farmer still makes a margin from the pricing of feeds. Only that farming is a kind of variable business. There is several variables. There is a disease outbreak, production is affected. There is a change of weather patterns, production is affected. So you need a margin that can cushion you from those variabilities. So the pricing of feeds currently doesn't give you that kind of margin. You have to be very thorough in your management for you to survive. When some farmers find that the feed prices are what they are currently, they rush to cheaper feeds. But cheaper feeds compromise on quality. So you find that you save maybe 500 shillings a bag, but you are losing a lot in production. So I would advise the farmers just to stick with good quality feeds, improve on their management to reduce the other costs, and focus on how they can maximize on their production. As part of services that we offer, we also consult for guys who want to join the poultry business. The consultation involves training the farmer, visiting their site to establish whether it's suitable for poultry rearing. We help them do a budget or a proposal of sorts to help them understand how much it will cost them to set up whatever size they are interested in. Then we also help them we link them to suppliers of materials, inputs, and even extension services. We also help them develop a projection to see how much they can project in terms of returns from that venture. Going forward for Kamsa Poultry, we are looking at being a market leader in the production of eggs. So in the next 1 year, we are planning to double our production, put up another unit for 5,000 birds so that we have 10,000 laying birds. But in the next 5 years, we would like that number to reach to 30,000 birds. So in the next also 3 to 5 years, Kamsa Poultry is looking to set up a feed mill to produce chicken feed.